I was actually going to ask that question. What skill set do you not want to know, and what skill set do you want to learn? Because for me, character creation, get out. I don't care for that stuff. But the one skill set that I want to learn is Python. I understand concepts. I mean, I can use Unreal Engine. It's all a node-based thing. Who's creating a node-based Python editor? Joshua, who created the Paint Layer add-on, he's creating a Python node-based system for Blender. But that's one skill set I want to learn. What about everyone else?
Give us a
Everyone knows everything.
Give us a minute to think.
No, I don't know everything. That's the thing. I know enough that there's so many things I want to learn. Like every time I learn something new, there's way more I want to learn.
So, as I said, I've literally just done a video telling people not to tell everyone everything that you want to do because of a little psychological quirk. But I really, really, really want to get back into doing music because I used to do like ambient soundtrack stuff for game projects and whatever. But I've stopped doing that. But it would pair up really, really well with the new artistic skills for doing shorts and stuff. And so I really want to take advantage of that. What I don't want to do is rigging in animation. I've thought about it a lot, and like I was always thinking, should I sit down and do animation, like just watch a course about it? But I don't think I'll be able to deal with it. I know that there are lots of people that love animation, and I think a procedural kind of animation, programmatical, I could do that for like motion graphics, but actual like handcrafted animation, I don't think that's for me necessarily.
I'm with you there. I always use automatic weights. Animation's lame. I wish I could like know more node stuff. I want to become Gabe. I think I have a G. I still need to get an Abe. I think. Also Python. Python's cool. Curtis can teach me. I'll pay.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about that. I mean, I've been preparing videos to do on Python because I've had too many people asking me for it. But I don't know whether to... I want to do it free, but also I've got to survive. So I don't really know what to do. I think I'm more on the side of making everything free because that's more enjoyable for people, and maybe just having some paid, like you can get the blend files and demonstrations if you want.
Yeah, I think you should make tons of demos that are paid. The information's free, so if somebody's like, oh, I don't get screw you, you got the information, it was free. The rest is kind of up to you.
Yeah, that's what I'm leaning on. But like I don't want to like... I'm very cautious about getting negative comments from members of the Blender development team, because my take on it's going to be quite rebellious and very non-efficient and stuff. So, like, maybe I'll just need to make it clear. I'll need to make it clear that, like, hey, I'm not telling people to do things the wrong way, but maybe doing it this way is better for making it fun for people.
Python.
Sorry, what was
your mic is broken, Grant. But if you like really mouth the words, then
no, I think it takes a minute to kick in. So if you could say that again, it would probably be fine.
CG's gonna overdub your voice anyway.
Okay, here we go.
I think it's when other people talk at the same time. So, go.
Test. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my mic has been acting up recently. Either way, you could call it the rebellious approach to Python, Blender Python.
Mm-hmm.
Erase the not so great parts of it and make it a feature, you know?
Yeah, I'm thinking I'll do that because there are some elements of design that I don't like. There's some places where values that should be the same type are actually different data types, even though they hold exactly the same data. So say something's like a three-dimensional vector, it'll be a completely different type for the same data underneath. So when you go to like write code for it, you end up with an error and you go, why is there an error? It's the same type of data. And then you find out it's just some obscure type, and I'm just like, oh my god, like
what is this? Yeah, no, I've run into that before. Fun.
So like a normal and a color would be like the same. Should be the same vector type, but it's not.
I suppose.
Something like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Curtis. Who's like criticizing you? Because here's the thing: if they know they're like, oh, you hard coded this. Could have just done a loop. Why are they watching the thing? There's no way they know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I suppose I look at like some contentious parts of the development process. Like there are some they make changes without making them clear sometimes, and it annoys some add-on developers. And I have a look at some of these like tracker reports and whatever. But also I don't want to detract from the official scripting tutorials either. So I'll probably just put one disclaimer at the beginning, just go, hey, I'm not going to teach you how to be the best person at making add-ons. If you follow this, you're not going to get like it included in Blender, but you're going to learn something.
Another thing too is that it's typically not the Python people who really have to worry about making real contributions to the actual source of Blender, because that's all C and C++ developers.
Yeah.
So if you're doing Python, that is more tailored towards independent add-ons, and although you can have one included with Blender, it's not always the case. Often add-ons are better fit as independent pieces of software than they are with the actual Blender source.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
I'm curious because I feel like I'm out of the loop with Jacob's life. Is there something that's being worked on?
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. Well, I don't know about for the next tutorial. But one thing I do want to learn is more about like ACEs and working within the ACEs color space for CG. So I'm really interested. I mean, so what I'd love to do is take like a raw or a log footage, like the really flat looking video that you get out of like cinema cameras, and use ACEs to make that whole color workflow work and put some CG elements in there. It's kind of hard right now in that I don't really have access to the type of camera that would do that, but that's one thing I want to learn.
So I'm sure everybody knows. I certainly know. What's ACEs?
ACEs. Yeah, I mean, I'm still wrapping my head around it, but yeah, it's like the Academy's new. I mean, I guess it's been around for a while, but it's still a newer concept of this just really large color space that encapsulates a huge gamut of colors that pretty much covers all the other ones that are existing, and it provides transform data so that you can convert between spaces easily and then work with different types of footage, different programs, send things off really easily, and publish to all different types of displays as well. That's how I understand it, but it's, yeah.
It blows my mind that up until now there was no standard for like color.
And there's still really not gonna be, because everybody is so spread out, from when it comes to actually how the displays, display color to everything. It all gets mixed and mashed a lot. So it's gonna be a good amount of time before we see really any sort of standard prevail through. But ACES is certainly a good first knock at things, especially on more of the artistic and film side of things.
So we were talking about graphics tablets before we started, I think. And you mentioned, we briefly mentioned like screens on graphics tablets. Have any of you been researching them and like seen where they've said, oh, like 75% RGB screen? And I'm like, what do you mean 75% RGB? What constitutes 100% RGB? And they make comparisons like Adobe RGB and this. I'm like, what do you mean Adobe RGB? Like, color is color. Just come up with a standard.
I think it might be, the kind of the status quo for color is this gamut called the sRGB gamut, which is a relatively small. There's a whole spectrum of colors that our eyes can actually see, and sRGB only covers a pretty small portion of that larger image. It's only I don't know, maybe 40%, 50% of it. And then there's other color spaces like Adobe RGB, which cover more of that because they have a higher bit rate. Basically, not the higher bit rate, but there's more. Each individual pixel takes up more data, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Each individual pixel, each color takes up a bigger space in memory on your computer. And what that's 75% RGB might mean is it might mean that it takes up a certain portion of one of those color spaces, like 75% of the sRGB color space. But that also sounds kind of dumb because I feel like they should take advantage of the full thing. But I don't know. That's my best analysis.
And if they're taking up 75% of it, what space is that? Like on the spectrum, you're not saying I don't understand. Anyway,
a lot of what a display actually shows you comes down to it's about how the data is passed from the computer to the display. It's about how the data is processed by the microprocessor or microprocessors on the display, or even the quality of the LEDs that you have on the display. You know, you could have a crappy LED and that, you know, only gets to be, you know, 50% of the brightness that it should have to get to. It's cheaper to manufacture, but because of that, you might only, when you're observing it, be able to see 75% of that sRGB spectrum when the full thing is technically being transferred to the monitor.
Yeah.